5 musicians who deserve more praise. As always, totally subjective. It may sound wild, but hear me out. Chuck Berry has become kind of underrated by a lot of the masses. Usually when you mention the infancy of rock and roll, the beginning of it, you mention Elvis Presley, Eddie Cochran, the Everly Brothers, Buddy Holly, Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, Johnny Cash. For some reason, they don't mention the forefather, the man who was largely responsible for it more than anybody, Chuck Berry. Chuck pretty much laid the foundation of what rock and roll was going to be. I've always said, post 1955, if you made it into rock and roll for that time frame, you owe a massive debt to Chuck Berry. The craftsmanship, the songwriting ability, the riffs that he would play, Johnny B. Good, Maybelline, Roll Over Beethoven, Chuck Berry, you could argue, is probably the most important artist of the 1950s because he spearheaded a whole entire movement that followed him afterwards. Some folks pass away young, and oftentimes their legacy will flourish, and you'll always hear about the big what if, but for some reason or another, Karen Carpenter's legacy has largely been good, but sometimes I wonder if folks forgot about her. Drummers that can sing is not uncommon at all. We've seen it with Phil Collins, Roger Taylor, modern days, Jimmy Sullivan. Karen Carpenter was one of the first early examples of, wow, this is actually someone that's awe-inspiring. They can drum really good, and they can sing probably even better. The unfortunate reality is not all folks that pass away young in music get remembered because music is so diverse, deep, and long with history. Karen Carpenter obviously should be an example of someone who is very much a once-in-a-generation talent. There's a very short list of people who are successful in a group, leave a big-time group, and become even bigger after the group broke up. One of those examples, obviously, is George Michael. George Michael will oftentimes get dismissed as a speck on the wheel, nothing crazy, just a pop guy, whatever the case. One of the finest voices of his time, the fact that he was so young at 21 years old, headlining Live Aid at 85 with Elton John behind him, performing in front of nearly 2 billion people watching him, that's all-time talent. Not to mention he's always been a really good songwriter, wrote about everything, politics, personal, whatever the case. George Michael, for some reason or another, a lot of folks will think of Endless Whisper, they'll think of Wham, and that's just it with George. It's way deeper than that. If you made a list of people smarter than Brian Wilson all time from the Beach Boys, it's probably not going to be a very long list. He deserves more credit, maybe with his recent passing, obviously with time he will. In-studio wizardry, studio innovation, still practices that he had back then in the 60s, still being used now 60 plus years later. This dude was very much a musical genius. He was the heart and soul of the Beach Boys, no matter who tells you otherwise. They went as far as Brian Wilson took them. The layered harmonies, the being able to speak art into reality, that vulnerability in his voice, you could feel it in the songs that he composed. Truly one of the most talented and smartest musicians of all time. How could Prince, of all people, possibly get more credit than he already gets? You're probably asking yourself, how does Prince not get any credit? It's Prince. Prince gets credit as he should be, but I don't think folks realize this might be the most talented artist to ever live. Might be, it's subjective, but he gets the credit for being a great guitarist, but the instrumentalist, learning 27 instruments when he first debuted, being a composer, being the producer, writing hits for other people, helping shape multiple genres, pop, R&B, funk, you name it. There's nothing that Prince couldn't do in regards to music.